along? Well, we do know that over the years, it's always been a big issue with nations talking about the way they fight infectious diseases. And I remember in this country, once upon a time, malaria was a big issue. And we had chickenpox, we had hepatitis, and of course came the HIV. And most recently, we'll talk about the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic that is ravaging the world. And the need for our country to make sure that authorities really live up to expectation has really come to bear one more time. Now, what am I talking about? We're talking about the recent Infectious Bill 2020. That's the Nigeria Disease Control Infectious Bill 2020. If you've been following the news, you would have you will recall that recently the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, as one of those that has sponsored the 2020 Nigeria Infectious Bill, has come up to further reiterate that we need this bill at this point of our lives. More also that the way infectious diseases are being handled in the country is really not, encouraging. Given the fact that most people, they have this infectious disease with them, and they go around, they spread it without even them knowing. I mean, take for example the issue of the coronavirus. Now we now have asymptomatic patients, asymptomatic victims. Those are the victims that they have the COVID-19 virus, within them. They don't even know. They don't manifest any of the symptoms. And of course, they go around and spread it here and there, only for people that are innocent to be down with the symptoms, and it's really not a good idea. So recently, the House of Representatives has taken the lead to make sure that we now have a bill that will really control the way some of these diseases are being peddled around. But that seems not to be going down well with a lot of people. And just as the bill was, introduced, the bill started, having reactions started coming against the bill. Some have said that the bill is draconian in nature. And some have even said that it is not original in its entirety, that in the first place, it does not emanate from here. They have even gone as far as saying that it was imported from Singapore, that there is no way you can have a Singaporean bill introduced in this country and allow it to work. So these are some of the issues and some of the comments and reactions that have thrilled the bill that is still before the House of Representatives as we speak. And we understand that the bill has gone through the second reading, so eventually, hopefully, it will go through the third reading, and the House of Representatives will adopt it, while it then before that to the Senate. And of course, the President, if it goes through in the Senate, then means that the President will have to look into it. And if it receives the assent of the President, then of course, it becomes a law in the country, Nigeria. Now, this bill, as we speak now, the Control for Infectious Disease Bill 2020, is otherwise known as an act to repeal the Quarantine Act and enact the Control of Infectious Disease. And it makes provision relating to quarantine and make regulations for preventing the introduction into the spread in Nigeria of dangerous infectious diseases and for other related matters. And we understand that this bill tends to cover diseases like the acquired immune deficiency syndrome, the HIV, that's the AIDS, and of course avian influenza, cholera, dengue fever, hepatitis, malaria, measles, tuberculosis, yellow fever. And of course, we also have that the bill covers polio, meningitis, and coronavirus, among others. And, some other diseases that people really don't, think about. And very, very, the one thing that seems to be, what seems to be obnoxious to most people, to analysts that have been following this bill, is that the bill tends to make the Director General of the NCDC very, very big in quotes. Big in the quote that the bill supports the Director General of the NCDC to come on any person and against his own will, to come on any person and, carry out a test on an individual. And if that individual is found to be carrying any of this disease, then of course the individual can be quarantined. Now, for most human rights and civil rights activists, this is against human rights. And that's the reason why that I have gone out to invite Mr. Nuwita Egbotako, who is a human rights activist and, of course, a serial author. Sir, you're welcome to this program this morning on
Good morning, viewers.
You're welcome. Now, as we get along on this program, we're going to roll out our number for SMS, 080-2464-5409, so that you can also text and have your contributions on the program as we get along. Now, Nuwita, yes. You are a human rights activist. I know that when we talk about this kind of bill, it's something that draws your attention, yes, more so that most people have actually advocated that it impedes on human rights. I don't know what your findings are.
Well, first of all, I want to, thank the efforts being made by the National Assembly, specifically the House of Representatives. But before I proceed, what we want to ask equally to, why now? Most Nigerians, will have expected them to be proactive even before now. And given that we've had case of Ebola in the past and other, dangerous diseases across the world and across the nation. So it's a welcome development. It shows that the House of Reps is thinking positively about the health of Nigerians. And it's a welcome development. But at this point, why this bill is being put together? It has passed the first reading and the second reading, and one would have expected that the House will have opened up before now, call for public hearing, input for the general public, from the citizens, and let them make their own contributions. So I think it is against the fundamental rights of Nigerians that they are not carried along. They must be carried along. It's not going to be a one-sided issue, because we are talking about health. But we are talking about something that affects millions of Nigerians. We don't pray for us to have deficit in our health or to have health challenges, but it's something that is paramount, it's something that is critical, it's something that has to do with human being. So I'm using opportunity, those that have said, what is happening concerning Nigerian infectious disease bill, it's a welcome development, but we want the House of Reps to open up, to let Nigerians from all shades, let them make their contributions. And the issue of making the Director General of NCDC a Superman in view of the bill that we are seeing, I think it's uncalled for. I think people should look at this bill, stakeholders and Nigerians across the nation, stakeholders everywhere. Let's look at the nitty-gritty, so that at the end of the day, we don't see a situation whereby, in the name of trying to take care of Nigerians, you are now subdue them, into something else. Okay. So there's even a case that I want to quickly mention here. It happened somewhere in Enugu, a couple who had an issue, with a woman who had an issue with her health, previously, and suddenly something came up again. She went to a particular hospital, and before you know it, everybody don't run away, because they felt she was manifesting all those symptoms relating to COVID-19 and all that. And at the end of the day, in spite of all the effort made by the husband, the woman was abandoned and things like that. So we don't want a situation like that. We want this kind of scenario to be taken care of, even in this bill. You understand? We are in a country where this is Africa's most populous nation on earth, and it will be a misnomer, for a bill of such nature to have reached this stage, and nobody has made input outside the House of Reps. So it is uncalled for.
Now, right. Yeah, the thing about this kind of bill, when you hear people saying that it should have a public coloration, in other words, that it ought to be subjected to public hearing. Now, one is tempted to ask the question. We have members representing constituencies. These members were voted for. by the same people that are making the clarion call that this kind of bill should be subjected to public hearing. So how do we put all this together? And now to also quickly we understand that the Speaker has actually owned up that, okay, if the public is saying that it should have a public hearing with effect from no distant time, the House of Representatives is going to involve the public so that they can have, a part to play in this bill as it goes forward to third reading and adopting it and all that. Yeah. So the question is, how do we look at it when we have members voted for to represent our interest? And of course, they are putting the power given to them into bear. Then, of course, people still saying that, oh, we ought to have a take in all of this. How do we put all this together?
Well, it's quite pathetic that most of the people that, got themselves elected into public offices, most of them, not all of them, they are not proactive. They are not, they are not interested, so to say, in the people that vote them to power. Because one would have expected that various representatives should have done something even before now. Since they are privy to that kind of bill in the House of Reps, they would have done something by going to organize town hall meetings, go to their constituencies, go to their bases, and let people know. Must Nigerians cry out? Must we express our disgust about the kind of powers that want to be given to the Director General of NCDC? Must we cry over the ceiling before our so-called reps are supposed to do what they're supposed to do? So it is pathetic, and we are now using this opportunity to speak to the various reps in the House of Representatives to be alive to their responsibilities. In fact, it's just like, I'm not deviating, just like we have a case of COVID-19 now. How many reps, how many members of House of Reps or senators have done something for their constituencies? How many?
That may be a rhtorical question.
No,
we are seeing some reps, we are seeing some senators giving palliatives.
Some, but you know how many senators we have in this country? Almost 100 and something. The House of Rep members, you know how many, So how many of them, they are just skeletal, sporadic display of love. We want full-blown display of love. We want proactive leadership. The people are willing, they are mourning. Is it every time we have to cry over the ceiling before those that we call those we surrender our franchise to, our democratic rights to? Is it every time that we have to put in their ears, so to say, to do the needful? I think it's an opportunity for various House of Assembly, various reps, as they are being representing the National House of Representatives, to go to the nooks and crannies, to do the needful. Because most people do not know anything about this bill. Most people don't know. In fact, the people in the rural areas, not everybody have access to Android phones. Because some of us got to know about these things, when we were looking at Android phones.
Yeah, but it's been in the news for some days now.
But the enlightenment is not as overwhelming as we would have expected.
Okay.
So we're now using the opportunity to call the so-called representatives in the House of Reps to be alive, to be combative, so to say, on this issue. Because this issue has to do with lives of Nigerians. It's a delicate issue, and the bill is equally delicate in the sense that we don't want some things that will affect the people that will now be contrary to their own health or their fundamental rights, to say through that kind of bill. So we're urging the various politicians, House of Reps members, to wake up and let us have an input. Let us make our contributions.
Let the public
have a view. Because as I said when I started, I said, why even now?
Okay.
Most people do not even know about NCDC before now. These are government agencies that have been in the cooler. They don't seem to be doing anything, on behalf of the people. How long have we have HIV in this country? How long? So tuberculosis and all that. These are deadly diseases that are claiming that are even more as dangerous than COVID-19. You agree with me? I was telling somebody the other day that COVID-19 is being taken to the front burners and, well, permit me to use my opinion, that some people are politicizing it and things like that. Why not do this for HIV, tuberculosis, other people are dying in the hospitals, not even of COVID-19. A lot of things are happening. So why we part, Mr. Speaker, Femi Gbajami-Abila, pat him on his back, what they are doing in the House for, at least, for initiating this kind of bill, we are using opportunity to say that they must do the needful.
Okay. Now, you made mention of the bill actually empowering the boss of the NCDC to kind of have some huge powers in quote now. If you go through the bill, you understand that the bill actually says that at the end of the day, that the boss of the NCDC is going to be subjected to the supervision of the Minister of Health. Now, some have said that it doesn't work. It's not supposed to be like that because the act that establishes the office of the NCDC is different from the act that establishes the office of the Minister of Health. Yes. So how do you put all that together? So are you sure that the reps, they've seen all this, that they are aware of all this? Because these are some of the reactions that people...
I'm not sure they are aware of it.
Yeah.
And from what we know, the content of this bill was even imported. The content.
From Singapore.
From Singapore.
Yeah.
It was imported. It was so, and the way some of our people behave, wishy-washy attitudes without putting in place thoroughness, and things like that. And they forget that this thing has to do with the country, this has to do with the people. So I think a lot needs to be done. And just that sad scenario that I mentioned, where because somebody has symptoms that showed that, that resembled COVID-19, the person was abandoned in Enugu, University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, so to say. In spite of the desperate effort that was made by, the husband and others. They were calling, they were doing all those things. The woman passed on. And only for the doctor, the initial physician that was handling her, for come on later that this is the history of this thing.
Yeah, but the authority there came up to apologize.
But somebody has died. So these are some of the things that we should look at in this bill. This issue of putting clauses that will jeopardize, that will run counter to the set objectives. It's something that we should be careful about.
Okay.
So I think Nigerians are, having gone through a lot. We know what is happening in the country. Fundamental human rights have been trampled upon one way or the other, and things are not working the way to be working in other climes, as it is being done in other climes. But Nigeria, we should just try and get it right and let things work on behalf of the people, because a lot of things are happening, and as I said earlier, the members of the House of Reps should be alive to their responsibilities. Even in the midst of COVID-19, they should assess their people and let people know what is happening, and let's have the benefit of the content of this bill.
Okay.
So that what the discrepancies, the collusion between the Minister of Health and all those things will be taken care of, so that we're not going to have a counterproductive bill at the end of the day.
Okay. Now, let's just see some of the excerpts from the bill. We're told that specifically Section 12 empowers the NCDC Director General or men suspicion to prohibit the burial of a deceased by family members. Again, this is a clear violation of citizens' rights to human dignity. Section 13 of the bill gives Director General of the NCDC the power to order the isolation of people having or suspected to have an infectious disease for a period of time subject to his discretion. Now, we've seen that it's also empowering the Director General of the NCDC. But quickly, let's look at the aspects of the bill that talks about that once somebody is found to be culpable, somebody is, somebody has this disease, that the person becomes a property of the federal government. That's the implication of it. Now, for most people, this is against some religious belief. Take, for example, the Muslims that believe so much that, look, once
man
their person dies, they bury their own. So all this, you know, are probably some of the reactions that people are looking at. I want you to take it from that angle.
Well, as you have let the cat out of the bag, so to say, I think there are fundamental stipulations, you know, that is obtainable in the system. You know, religious stipulations, religious, you know, postulations that guides people right from time. I think the initiators of this bill, the drafters of this bill, should take into cognizance all these sensitive issues. As I said earlier, it is one thing to bring out a bill on behalf of the people. It's one, at the end of the day, you are now pulling them down. You are now dragging them down. We are now doing all sorts of things.
Yeah, but I think we also need to be objective in the way we react to some of these issues, because we are looking at a highly infectious disease, a highly infectious situation. Take, for example, somebody that is down with COVID-19. You know, that person, by the federal government's directive, the person is not supposed to be taken home. You know, because you cannot trust the way people will handle the body of this person, and thereby you just go on to spread the disease. So for a nation that really wants to fight an infectious disease to stand still, so do you think we should be thinking along this line?
There is a federal might. There are things the federal government is, you know, is loaded with powers to undo and undo, so to say. Somebody said it somewhere in the local parlance that after God Almighty,
it's his government,
the federal government in Nigeria, because there's so much powers in the hand of Mr. President. You understand? The other day, people, even not too far from us, there's a case that happened in our locality, somewhere not too far. Don't want to mention the names. In Novia Notice, in one of these institutions, federal government agencies, somebody who had history of, you know, a particular ailment just went to UBTH, and what do you have? Because he manifested certain symptoms that look like COVID-19, he was declared a COVID-19 patient.
Who declared him a COVID-19 patient?
The management of the University of Benediction Hospital. Where are the facts?
No, was it the management or the NCDC?
No, it's the management, because they are acting on directives from higher authorities.
Yeah, maybe they're also acting on some of the information that they have.
So I'm going somewhere.
I'm trying to look at what you're saying, because when you say the management of UBTH declared that somebody is COVID-19, you know, patient, the management could not have done that if they've not really ascertained.
See,
remember we're talking about professionals.
We're in this country.
Yeah.
I am not a baby in human rights activism. I am not a motor park activist. We have our facts. For instance, that chap, and I don't want to go to details, that chap's body was delayed, was somehow seized, you know, somewhere. But only after the formative was had packed up, died, and less than a few hours after he succumbed to complication arising from COVID-19, the guy was buried according to Muslim rights and what have you. And people started talking. People started talking. So what kind of country is this? Is a quarry bigger than you know, other citizens? Why are people? Why are certain authorities detaining people who succumb to COVID-19 or who seem to succumb to COVID-19? They're not releasing their bodies and all that. About a few days later, that corpse that I mentioned, I don't want to mention names, most of all know, located somewhere in Novia Notice, one of the institutions. That corpse was released, and there were guidelines during the burial ceremony. They kitted themselves, they did the needful. So, as I said when I started, I said, we have a further might. We have people that can make things work. Why not just put in this bill, for instance? This proposed bill. Certain clauses, practical clauses, pragmatic clauses.
Within the sphere of Nigerian
for example,
situation.
Religion is a very delicate issue. The other day, somebody said maybe somebody went to defecate and used a Quran to clean his anus and what have you.
No, we don't have to say that.
The point of that is that it's a delicate matter.
Yeah.
That How do you want to prevent maybe a Muslim, for instance, succumb to this thing and you don't want to release the corpse? But the federal government did something that was okay. Look at what they did during the burial of Abakwari.
Yeah, but
everything was done. So,
but again,
this regulation could have been put in this
an
bill.
apology was tendered, in that regard, because
With apology.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people who have been there who were detained. Their causes were detained. It was this chap that I'm mentioning from somewhere in our part of we are noticed one of the institutions. I don't want to mention it so that I don't catch aspersion. When the guy was being buried, the brother or one of the cousins came up and said, "This our brother had this was also amen." And he had any contact with anybody, only for them to know that they not said it was going to be something. But I'm not going to this about. But the point I'm saying is that, but when the body was eventually released, they took all the precautionary measures, and nothing happened to the people that went to do the burial. So why not put some of these things, practical clauses, to suit certain things, just like Muslim, a Muslim who somebody must be 24 hours, the person must be buried and things like that. So that is why I'm calling for public hearing on this kind of bill, so that people can have the benefit of making their input, so that they do not jeopardize, do not run counterproductive to the original objective and things like that.
Now, when we really call for public hearing, don't you think that may give rise to a situation whereby the bill may be dead on arrival? I mean, considering the time it will take, considering the resources, human and capital resources that will be involved. Because Nowita, remember we are looking at a situation here. Now we're talking about a pandemic situation.
Yes.
The way it is now in Nigeria, in Africa, and perhaps in the world, the coronavirus and perhaps other highly infectious diseases. The nations of the world are not finding it, easy. So if Nigeria goes ahead to want to implement a legislation that will really further curtail the spread of all this, now, don't you think we cannot play with time? We cannot afford to play with time.
There are things we could do. I am a civil society person. There what we call workshop. It must, because as I say, we are living on a very delicate times, unusual times. The COVID-19 is swallowing people, is consuming people, it's a threat and all that. It calls for ingenuity, administrative ingenuity. I'm a civil society person. For instance, sometimes if you want to handle a particular issue, we gather in a room and all stakeholders are invited. Before the end of 2 days, solutions are taken. I'm talking from experience. People who are experts, who are experts in their different fields, they will come, they will be invited. They can even be invited to the House of Reps. It might not be taking them to outside the Abuja or 3M zone. They can call a meeting, even in the National Assembly. They have public rooms, public hearing rooms and all that. And if you want to be COVID-19 compliance, you can say, okay, 20, come. Let's try this matter. There's a solutions, we become a communique. You take another 20 to another room if you don't want to, and things like that. So things could be done. There are revolutionary ways, there are proactive means that things could be done. And we are calling on the Speaker to look at these options so that, as you said, the Nigeria Infectious Disease Bill will not turn into a comatose. Will not be dead on arrival.
Yeah.
But I don't see dying on arrival, because this is a disease, this is a period that has stumbled, that has staggered humanity. And people are panicking all over the world. Look at what Donald Trump is doing. He's being humbled by COVID-19. It's part of the SSs. Look at what he's happening all over the world. I think if you take into consideration all these things, we're happy with what the federal government has done so far. We don't want to talk about palliatives now. That is not the issue.
But it's part of the issue. It's part of the
Because
issue.
the thing have not been taken care of.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. The ordinary people have not been taken care of. And somebody is telling us that there are even what they call hunger disease. If you don't eat well in 2 days, in 3 days, my brother, your immune system will run mad. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So people need to be taken care of.
Okay. Now, for viewers out there, remember I told you that you can be part of this discussion this morning. 08024645409. 08024645409. All you need to do is to send your short SMS and you tell me your name, where you're sending the SMS from, so that I can know that you are reaching me from far and wide. And of course, you'll be part of this discussion this morning. 08024645409. The number is going to be displayed on the screen. It's already on the screen for you there. 08024645409. And you can even reach me on WhatsApp, and definitely I'll take your comment. Now, Anowita, let's look at section 17 that prescribes that if in the opinion in the opinion of the Director General of the NCDC,
yes,
a building is so overcrowded, if a building is so overcrowded as to expose the occupants to the risk of infection by an infectious disease, the DG may, by written notice, direct the owner or the occupier of the building to abate the overcrowding or close the building as parts thereof. Now, in the opinion of the Director General, now what do you think? People are not too comfortable with that when you say in the opinion of a certain person, because opinions, are neither wrong nor right. They're just there. They're just your own opinion. So how do you look at all this?
It's trying to give an octopus power, massive power, octopus power to an individual. But as I said, this bill, we need creativity, ingenuity, so that, as I said, people, stakeholders, experts in the field should be brought in, and let's pragmatize some of these issues. You understand? Not you know what is obtainable. Just like the case, for instance, a law, an abolition law that have been thrown overboard now. Before, when somebody sustained a gun wound, for instance, you understand? Without certain report, the person will be left to die. You don't know whether it was armed robber that shot the guy or the guy had an accident. That law was there, but have been thrown away now. So that kind of thing, so many people died in that process. Before, after public outcry, public resentment over that kind of, act or clause in that, provision, it was thrown away. So we want to advise the initiators, as I said, the drafters, those who are the front runners handling this bill, to have an open mind. Because for me, there's nothing wrong if a house is suspected, maybe a house is overcrowded, for instance. The bill can be amended. The clause can be done in such a way that, okay, if you have something like that, okay, can the federal government build, those are they are building quarantine centers now. Isolation centers. Can they build it? This is an oil-rich country. This is a country that has got billions of dollars since 1956, when oil was discovered in Olobere. It is pathetic. Look at what happened in China. That reminds me, when the COVID-19 started in China, I respect the Chinese leaders. Look at the massive isolation center and hospital that was, in fact, I call it conjure.
That was built within hours.
Within hours. People's Republic of China, that day was brought up. And people were sent there, and what have you. And as we speak, COVID-19 is being controlled.
Yeah, but we understand that Wuhan, it was reported
that
Wuhan is coming back again.
Well, so, I don't have that information.
Yeah, we have that. I read it on the papers this morning.
But given what Chinese authorities have done in the recent past, I think they are on top of the station. For a Chinese government to have built an isolation center, a gynecological hospital in hours, that is a country. Can't it be done in Nigeria? Given all the resources, all what we are blessed with, it calls for leadership. It calls for proactive leadership. It calls for political will. The presidency can look into this. Must you come and bring somebody and scatter your family because a member of that family suspected or something? No. So I'm sure the doctors will be listening to us wherever they are. This kind of thing should be included in that kind of clause. Instead of breaking down a building, instead of scattering people in the build the isolation centers, let them be there. Each time an emergency occurs, people don't walk in there and get treated.
Okay. Now, what about the aspect of the bill that talks about if somebody is suspected to have any of this highly infectious disease, that the person is supposed to be quarantined, and on the event that the person refuses being quarantined, the person pays a fine of 500,000 naira, or he faces the risk of 6 months in jail. You know, that's there's some other provisions. I think that's in section. Let's see now. That's in section 30, section 30 and 46 of the proposed bill, the 2020 infectious disease bill, and that's section 30 and 46 of the bill. So you can Google that and read all that for yourself. So how do you react to all this?
It's draconian. You know, okay. As I said, most of the people that are even succumbing to all this infectious disease, they are poverty-stricken. Tuberculosis. Some people, how do you get tuberculosis? Maybe a prolific smoker, for instance. Or people could not take care of them. We know people who are used to certain substance abuse and all that. They still leave them because they have the resources to clean up themselves. When they go and carry somebody that has tuberculosis, and is looking emaciated, is the next 1 hour, 2 hours, the guy can go away.
Yeah, but it's
one thing. Cough out money.
Yeah, no, it's one thing to know that you have a highly infectious disease, and of course, it's another for you to want to present yourself for, being quarantined, because that's the problem that we have in this country. A lot of people, they know that, look, they have this thing. Family members even know. Because of their belief, their idiosyncrasies and all that, they would rather keep that person at home. Yeah. So don't you think, because when we look at all this, I think we also need to look at what the House of Representatives really tend to achieve, because they are looking at a situation whereby people don't want to come up.
It's true.
You know, when they are done with
ignorance,
and infectious disease, you know, demand some drastic measures. So don't you think so?
Drastic measures could be taken. It's not asking somebody to come and pay 500,000. You understand? I support a situation whereby if some people have developed cold feet, they don't want to present themselves for, isolation and all that. The other things could be done to make them, people could be arrested.
Yeah, it's still the same thing.
People could be, that is not infringing on their rights, because we are talking about emergency situation. It's not in all cases. This has to do with life and death. So people could be arrested and forced to obey the directive from government. You understand? Just like what has been doing at those and in other places. People are told to, do face mask and things like that. And so I don't support that fine.
Okay.
There are other ways that people could be taken off, could be forced to comply with government directive and all that.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's see some of the SMSs coming as reactions to some of the lines that we just read a while ago, as it relates to the Infectious Bill 2020 that is before the House of Representatives. Now we've got this first one that says that, let's see now. It says that, good morning, Evans. I'm Olumese from Saple Road in Benin City, and you're saying that the bill has given the NCDC DG too much power that ride on the rights of Nigerians. It should be reviewed. Well, just like what I said, the bill is on its way to being reviewed now. There's going to be a public hearing, and in a few days from now, there's going to be a public hearing so that people can have their contributions. I'm Erika from Benin. I want to ask if the COVID-19 is in Nigeria. As for me, I don't think there's COVID-19 in Nigeria. They should show us proof outside. They should show us because proof outside the country, we could see video of people with COVID-19. But here in Nigeria, they are giving us figures. You're saying that they should stop scamming us and let us go back to normal life and way of life. We don't have COVID-19 in Nigeria. That's the SMS coming in now from Erica. Now, this is some of the situation. Now, let's look at the situation one more time. Do you think that the authority, is there any elements of distrust, mistrust, and maybe lies, unfairness with the way authorities in Nigeria are going about the COVID-19. We must also look at within the ambience that the international, the World Health law stipulates that every person has the right to privacy, most especially when it has to do with his or her health.
Yes.
So let's look at all this. The COVID-19 situation in Nigeria, do you think the authority is transparent enough?
I don't think so. I want to start with Lagos State. When the first index, that happened in Lagos, that Italian chap.
Yeah.
Till tomorrow, nobody saw the guy.
Yeah, just like what I said, that by international law, by World Health law, an individual has right to his or her privacy. So the person can sue. The person can sue.
Based on that superior clause from that, we can leave that alone.
Okay, so so when people say that authorities in Nigeria are not transparent,
for instance,
enough,
let me quickly give us a vivid scenario.
But let me quickly ask you this question: how do you think that because we're looking at a situation whereby we can help ourselves? I mean, let the authority do what the people need to see, so that they can, the authority can also be helped. Some of these directives are probably not being adhered to because there is high elements of mistrust, of distrust, and mistrust. You understand? So, what do you think the authority can do in order to further repose the confidence in the minds of the people?
For instance, let me give you this vivid case. Kogi State, where you have Yahaya Bello as governor, some NCDC officials went there. They want to carry out some, their positional, statutory obligations, so to say. But the governor said, wait a minute. If I want to allow you access to my state, submit yourself to test. So there will not be that, even as are coming from NCDC, you want to come and infect people. That transparency talk. But they refuse to succumb to Yahaya Bello's position. As we speak, that's why probably there's no case in Kogi.
Because the NCDC has not carried out an investigation.
The governor said, wait a minute, you part from NCDC, no problem, let's have fun. But submit yourself to test. Let's remember, Evans.
But we should also remember that there is an agency. There is an agency. The governor is not a DAPT. No, there is an agency that is saddled with the responsibility of carrying out a test. The Kogi State government is not by law, by Nigerian law, is not authorized to do tests. So the NCDC is an agency, empowered by the federal government to carry out this test.
Okay. For instance, what prevented the NCDC officials from showing Yahaya Bello, the governor, for instance, a certificate that covers the team? We are talking about transparency. Don't worry, Mr. Governor, this is what we have. This is Mr. Dace, look at the guy. This is Mr. A, look at the guy. There's no problem. The guy will allow. But there was no transparency. And people are now blaming Yahaya Bello for being overbearing and things like that. And as I want to say, we are talking of a governor here, a chief executive of a state. You understand? These people, they are privy to some informations that the narrative of people may not have. Maybe probably that's why we don't have a case in Kogi right now. Because, why didn't they, as I said, this alternative, one of those bring a certificate, these guys are clean, they are bouncing. My brother, the minds of an average Nigerian on the street of Nigeria is that, just as that fellow said in your
in the SMS.
SMS said to, he said, I wish you would have COVID-19 in this place. I wish you, give you the part what politicians could do. Nigerian politicians, not all of them, a chunk of them, what they could do. Because we have people, not all of them, it's my opinion, we have people who seize every opportunity to politicize,
Any situation.
To put something in their pockets.
Yeah, any situation.
So their pocket become bugging and things like that.
Yeah.
So I think we are not challenging NCDC to come out. If there are places, for instance, like Kogi, where they're going to express reservation, why not just do the needful? So that people
that they are free from the COVID-19.
Yes, yes.
All right, now we have Martins from Benin. Those people coming to Benin from the north, where did they pass to get here? I feel our security are really not doing their jobs. It shows that even dangerous weapon can be smuggled into the country easily. And you are saying that secondly, the northern governors that are driving the Amajiri from their states, are these Amajiri from south that they are now sending them down here? So many things are not just right in this country, and you didn't tell me your name. That's we got that through WhatsApp message. And of course we have other messages now on the WhatsApp. Let's see more messages. We have this one that says that good morning ITV. You're saying that your name is Prince Eugene in Nofe, and from Jerry Benin City. Please, those that are discharged, why are they not telling us where they are using, what they are using to cure them? That's what you said. And let's see this one now. It says that, good morning, I am Moses by name, and an entertainer known as Code Red. They say stay at home, and now people are not being taken care of. Lots scam everywhere. And due to this outbreak, we have not seen any proof. So I say everything is a lie. There has been abuse of our rights because we put them here as our servants to do our bidding. Now they are doing theirs. Well, thank you so much for that one, that Code Red. As you said, what you said is your name. Now let's look at a situation that may have emanated from the situation on ground now. What seems to be an adoption by the federal government. Just only yesterday, we understand that the president actually had to approve the importation of the COVID-19 therapy from Madagascar. I mean, Madagascar, it's probably, now we must give kudos to Madagascar anyway, if what they are claiming is right. Now, don't you think we can actually do all this within this in this country here?
As I started on a pathetic note. I think it's pathetic. We have, in fact, when I was looking at the Madagascar miracle therapy, so to say, the president of that country, a youth, is full of exuberance, drank that thing in public, and they haven't results. And look at the herbal content.
Was he having COVID-19 before he drank it?
No, the thing is preventive and curative.
Okay, it's preventive and curative.
It's a double barrel
therapy.
Yeah, you can prevent, can cure, and things like that.
So it's made from herb?
Yes. And when I Google, I look at some of these herbs we are talking about, they're in Nigeria. The the leaf, so say that the Madagascar has been able to bring the miracle drug. The leaf is obtainable in Nigeria. They give it a name. I don't have the full details. It's in Nigeria. And even in Edo State here, some group of sharp people, people who are patriotic, I call them patriots, have come out. They call it past.
Some shadow doctors.
Yes. Yeah. They went to their closet. They left their closet. They went to the bush. They are battling to be recognized. Now, federal government is saying they should bring something, import something from Madagascar. This is what we are saying.
But we also need to emphasize that it is not as if the federal government is just fully accepting it. It's why
has the federal government not look into local? Why is it that after Madagascar has come out with their miracle drug, they're not talking about local this thing? When did the Minister of Health start talking about looking at alternatives? These guys have been talking. They've been using available means. So one of them even went to visit the governor of Edo State. We have this is what we have done. What of this guy, Iris Medical Center in Lagos? The man, fantastic man, is a late man now, Dr. Paul Olisa or something. His children, they have come up. They say, we have solution to this thing. Evans, we know what is obtainable in this country. We have a situation whereby people, most Nigerians, my brother, are ready to do anything. in the name of foreign exchange.
All right, now, just like what I was about to say,
this is the problem.
The Madagascar therapy that the federal government has ordered its importation is going to be subjected to clinical tests. So it is not as if it's going to be something that is going to be administered right away to COVID-19 patients. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Just like what Gbutako is saying, there is need for us to improve on our own and encourage our own. So lastly, on the subject matter, talking about the 2020 bill. Femi Gbajabiamila have been actually said that with effect from no distant time, that public hearing is going to be constituted. So what are your final thoughts on it one more time? Fantastic.
But I want to suggest to the Speaker and other initiators of this bill, yeah. It's a welcome bill, that they should look at the compliance thing about COVID-19. You know, because, you know, you don't gather more than 20 so that the thing cannot, you know. So we can use this method. Instead of saying, how are we going to gather? Use this workshop method, seminar method.
Stakeholders.
Bring stakeholders to Abuja, you know, to avoid exuberance and, you know, to pragmatize the process. Pragmatism.
All right, thank you.
Bring them to Abuja, put them 2020 in a room. At the end of 24, 48 hours, you see marvelous communique that will come out.
Okay, but I hope that will not be another, what happened in 2014, the national confab situation.
No, this is not confab. This is really...
All right, no, Gbutako, thank you so much for joining us on the program today. Well, this bill, let's see what happens. And if eventually, if it sails through at the level of the national, the House of Reps, then of course it will go to the Senate. And if it sails through in the Senate, then it will go to the president for accent. And once it gets the accent of the president, then it becomes a law in our country. Well, we'll take a short pause, and with that, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
for coming. We'll take a short pause now so that all that segments will come your way. Please stay tuned.